Those are the people who came to Ukraine to kill, to rape, to pillage, to destroy. An army of criminals without an end. That is what Russia is employing to fight against the will of the Ukrainian people. Putin has claimed that the so-called will of the Eastern Ukrainians has not been listened to. And yet, every single region in Ukraine has voted to join Ukraine when the Soviet Union collapsed. Putin did not care about their choice. He did not care about their will. Putin invaded anyway, because it did not matter what the people thought. The only thing that matters is whether or not he would get away with doing the crimes that he wanted to do in Ukraine. Yevgeny Prigozhin has said this himself. He said that this war was not waged to save Russian speakers or ethnic Russians. This war was waged for one reason only: to enrich the Russian elites. Nothing more, nothing less. And this is the leader of one of the most powerful, if not the most powerful battalion on the Russian side, who was saying this. And funny enough, he's no longer alive. Makes you wonder that perhaps Putin kills the people who tell him inconvenient truths. Of course, just a suggestion, but it should make us think if we want to live in a country where we could have our breakfast poisoned and not survive to the end of the day, or if we want to live in a country which we can actually criticize. And this is a very important point to make. There is an illusion of utopian authoritarianism in many authoritarian countries. Some individuals claim that because there are never any protests against the regime in countries like Iran, Russia, and North Korea, that people are happy. People must be supporting all of them, right? Wrong. Those people are not happy, my friends. Those people are living miserable lives. Those people are not allowed to go outside and to criticize their government. The fact that there are people here who are able to criticize this government shows that this country has freedom. This country has a future. This country has a good life for its people. That is why so many people want to live in this country. And nobody wants to live in Russia, North Korea, or Iran. Let's not forget about that, my friends. This is something we always have to remember when we're facing all of these Russophiles who occasionally sometimes come by and shout something incoherently at us. And it's very difficult to understand what they're actually saying, because they have no actual courage to speak up, to make a clear point. They have no real points. They have emotion. Now, there's nothing wrong with emotion. But when having a political opinion, our emotions need to be based on things that are real, not things that are imaginary, not things we just came up with. We have to move forward into a better future, not into ideologies like flat earth or Satanism or whatnot, or believing into these worldwide cabals, into these conspiracy theories. This is not a good world to be living in, my friends. That is why it's up to every single one of us to oppose these apologetics, these apologist ideas of the Russophiles and of the people supporting Russia right now, despite all of the crimes that the Russian terrorist regime has committed. This is something that we are here to tell to everybody, and that everybody should know, so that they, not us, and definitively not the Russian terrorist regime, can make a decision for themselves. And remember this, in Russia, if you call this war a war, you go to jail. That's not something that happens into the vast majority of the other countries in the world. It's not something that would happen in any other part of Europe. In fact, there would be protests, there would be outcries, there would be revolutions if similar things had happened in the rest of Europe. But in Russia, it's commonplace. Imagine if the German Chancellor started crying about the fall of the Third Reich and started saying that that has been a great country to live in. Imagine that. Would that individual have a good political career? No. That individual would be rightfully extradited and removed from politics. Why is it that the Russian terrorist state can afford to to defend the terrorist Soviet Union, the genocidal Soviet Union, and their antics, and still see it as something good. Because the Soviets fought against the Nazis, the Soviets were fighting on the same side as the Nazis in the beginning of World War II. That is how delusional Putin's regime is. They don't even know their own history. I mean, they do know it, but they simply lie about it. As we've always said in the past, Ukraine has its history, and Russia has its lies. It's as simple as that. We are here to tell those who are willing to listen our history and our plight, so that people can understand and so that people can make a choice to defend their own rights and our rights together, or to stay separated forever and allow us all to fall one by one to authoritarian and insane regimes that don't care about the people, but only care about filling up their own pockets. That is the choice that every single one of us has to make, my friends. And we must make sure that this is a choice that actually counts. We have to make sure of that. Russia is a terrorist state.
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 Stop Russia, stop the war.
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 Help Ukraine, protect peace.
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 Yesterday, after we finished our protest, there was an individual who came to us. That individual started shouting incoherently from the very beginning. He started shouting about the Jews, about the Zionists, about all of these people who are supposedly, according to him, or whatever conspiracy website he's reading, who are controlling the world. We've asked him, why do you think so? He did not want to reply. Oh, yes. He did not want to reply. You know what he did when we asked him why he believes in these conspiracies? He challenged to fight us. And when we refused to fight him, he called us cowards. That is what we can call, my friends, the Russian logic. To make a stupid, idiotic point, to be disproven on the spot. And when you are disproven, to get angry and to challenge the other person for a fight. Because of course, how else do you prove your righteousness but by good old-fashioned physical violence? My friends, that is not a future we want to be living in. That is not a future we should ever live in. We need to make sure that Russia loses. We need to make sure that Putin loses. Because if Putin wins, if Ukraine falls, the world will get substantially worse. Not only for the Ukrainians, but also for the Europeans, for Africans, for people all over the world. In fact, even for the Russians themselves, the world will get worse. That is why Putin's regime needs to be down. That is why the world needs to be united and to speak the truth about the reality of the crimes committed by the Russian terrorist regime. That is something that every person on earth should know. And to respond to these allegations with whataboutism and with deviations from the argument, it simply shows that our opposition has no points to give. In fact, as we all well remember, when we went to debate with the supposed Stop the War movement, a very misleading title, I might add. They're not planning to stop any wars. They're planning to shill for Russia. They're planning to support Russia and help Russia win. That is why they were shilling for the Russian interests, that they were claiming that by demilitarizing Ukraine, the world will end. Well, my friends, what sense would that make, considering that the beginning of this war happened when Ukraine was the weakest, when Ukraine had already given up its vast nuclear arsenal, when Ukraine had already given up a lot of its planes and armor and ships and every little bit of equipment that Ukraine had back then. Why is it that Russia attacked Ukraine when it was weak? Why is it that Russia attacked Ukraine when it was defenseless? And not when Ukraine was powerful? Героям слава! Thank you very much. But my friends, some people, unfortunately, still believe in these silly ideas that if you support the aggressor, if you demilitarize the victim, if you... Thank you, my friends. Thank you. Thank you very much. I know this is an emotional moment for many of us. You know, many people have lost a lot with this current situation. But we need to continue to have a clear mind about this, so that we tell everybody in the world what really is going on in Ukraine. But thank you for coming today. No, thank you for your presence. I appreciate it. I really do. There's been many people who lost a lot more than just their property, than just their future. Some people lost their lives. Some people lost their relatives. Some people lost their loved ones. We have to remember about all of those losses. If we give up now, if we give up and Russia wins, all of those losses will be meaningless. But if we keep supporting Ukraine to the day of Ukrainian victory, we can finally celebrate the real freedom, the real independence, the full and complete independence of Ukraine from any Russian influence, from any Russian attacks.